Call in by clicking the link in the stream's description. The professor wants to hear from you.
Beginnings on the cusp. Not too old to adjust. Old dog, new tricks. Remember, I was just a pup. Something dirty in my cup. Clean soul, good car.
Isn't it lovely? I ain't looking back and focus on what's in front of me. Everybody dates a number, but I'm still here luckily. I know that God got me, so I'm in good company. Isn't it lovely?
Welcome, and thank you for joining me today. I am Professor Bird, and this is A Bird's Thought. And today's episode is brought to you in part by Chops Trading, Chops Cards, and Print on Demand. If you are in need of a card, you can go to Chops Trading Card and they can make your own personal card. Yes, for wrestling, for baseball, for whatever sport you do, they are number one in making cards. And just because you know the professor is going to help you get 15% off your entire purchase. Yes, 15%. The only thing you have to do is put in the code BIRD15. That's all you have to do to get that amazing 15% off your entire purchase. That's Chops Card and Print on Demand, the place to go when you need quality work. Now, today, my special guest is someone that I've been following. I've seen her everywhere. It's like any independent show I look at, she's there. She's always everywhere. And that is my friend, my brain. You got to give me a second. My brain is all over the place. It's Dr. The Wife. How are you doing today, ma'am?
Hello, I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for joining me again. I've seen you out doing your thing, and I was like, I have to get on. I have to get you on my show. I want to know more about you. I want to know your journey, and I know that my fans want to know too. So, with that being said, I have to go ahead and get the most obvious question. How did you get your name?
So, it's kind of the story behind it is that it has to do with the TV show that my husband and I watch, and we watched it all the time. We enjoyed it very much. I'm not sure if you've heard of Venture Brothers.
Yes, I have.
Right. So, um, the antics of Doctor the Monarch and Doctor Girlfriend. So, Doctor the Wife is a play on Doctor Girlfriend. Um, it was a funny name. At the time, because me and my husband were also doing a podcast together with one of our other friends, we thought it'd be a funny way to introduce me into the fold for his podcast. So I came in as Dr. The Wife. It also kind of folded in there the fact that I was at the time also going for my doctorate. So I was like, yeah, I'll go for that. It's fun. It's interesting. It's unique, and it's easy to find because nobody else has it. Now, while I understand that the name itself might be a little bit, strange for some people to say, it was something fun for me to get started and get in there. And also for me to kind of lean into another personality, another side of myself.
Yeah, I think I know a lot about that considering I'm Professor Burr. But
Right.
so will you tell us this? Well, let's start off. When did you start following wrestling? When did you become a wrestling fan?
Well, I started a lot like everybody else does, 80s wrestling, WWF, watching as we grow older, watching on Saturdays. If we get to catch a pay-per-view, we get to catch it. Didn't always catch it on mine when I was younger because of course, no money for a youngster. So I caught what I was able to catch when it was playing after all the Saturday morning cartoons on Sunday, on Monday, things like that. And then life happens, you get older and you fall back into it again. The Monday Night Raws, the WCWs, all of that stuff. Again, you fall out of it because life happens. You go to school, do all this other stuff, and then I come back to it because my husband started watching another podcast. I started to go through the history of it from different eras, the Hogan era, the Macho Man era, all kinds of stuff like that. It was called OSW was the name of the podcast, and we'd watch it every time they come up with a new discussion point. We would follow it all the way through, which would lead us sometimes to rabbit holes where we watch specific matches from that time. And then from there, again, life happens. We come back into it to where he decided to start a podcast discussing. At first, it was NXT, but then it turned into discussing Stardom wrestling, the Joshi wrestlers in Japan. And we started with Stardom, and I didn't jump on right away. It was about the time when I started to notice that they had Mexican wrestlers on the show. One of which I just fell in love with, Maria Pachi. She was on it a lot, and when I started to watch some of the matches that she was on, I also started to translate some of what she was saying in her promos. And when I let my husband know that I was able to understand what she was saying and I can translate for him, that's when I started getting into the commentary part of it, where I would translate the promo for Maria Pachi and any other Spanish wrestler that Stardom would pick up. And then from there, it went into going to actual shows in Texas, watching a lot of women's wrestling, becoming a yeah, fan of women's wrestling, following the women's wrestlers to other promotions, and then exploring other promotions around Texas, which eventually led me to um, going to a wrestling school at Hybrid School of Wrestling in San Antonio and jumping in myself.
That's a that's a definitely a good journey. Um, besides who well who were some of your favorite wrestlers when you first started looking at it?
When I first started as a kid, normally the colorful ones. I was a big Sergeant Slaughter fan, especially when he did that crossover into GI Joe. I watched GI Joe and I watched Sergeant Slaughter on WWF, and then of course uh, Macho Man. I loved Randy Savage. I enjoyed the I really liked watching the interviews because I love how they were bounce off each other. There was, and the normal staples. Eventually, when it got into the Attitude Era, Stone Cold Steve Austin became my favorite. I loved watching Sting. Um, I don't have a lot of the ones that people make mention of nowadays because I just watched wrestling for the enjoyment of watching the matches. Um, And then moving into, I didn't really find a lot of women wrestlers that I resonated with, so I just kind of stuck with the matches I enjoyed watching, the action, the thrills, and things like that, the stories. And then when it came into Stardom Wrestling, that's when I started to pick up like favorites. La Rosa Negra became a favorite because we watched him back in the early days. Um, uh, Not Saki, Saya Ida, all-time favorite wrestler, especially her progression from when she was a smaller version of herself to now the beefy version of herself. I mean, I love watching her wrestle. I love her energy. Hazuki, I love watching Hazuki wrestle. Kaguma, so it went from what everybody's already mentioned from in WWF, WWE to now just really looking at how women wrestling is evolving, but also watching it abroad as well.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Um, with women's wrestling today, um, what is your feeling about what they're doing and producing with the women?
What I'm noticing a lot of is there's more athleticism. There's more focus on the look that they're bringing in, not just because before it was also the look, but we're now looking at more women that look like athletes. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, or it's my opinion, but I love watching athletes do their thing, and when they look like they're athletes, they're strong, they're ready, they're well prepared for what they're about to do. It's more entertaining to watch because you can believe that this match not only is going to be exciting and action packed, but somebody's butt's going to get kicked and it's going to be serious. So I that's what I've noticed about a lot of women's wrestling nowadays, is that it's evolved from a lot of, and I'm not going to disparage it because there's a lot of women wrestlers that have come before that have worked really hard, and have done amazing things to push women's wrestling. But I've noticed that even now you have more laser focus on just pushing the envelope on what women are able to do, not just between women versus women, but intergender matches. We're not just looking at the genders, we're looking at warriors going in the ring and settling differences in the most hard-hitting way possible.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I've been a big proponent of women's wrestling to stop sexualizing it and making it just as entertaining as men, which they're I think they're finally understanding that women's wrestling is just as great as men's wrestling. You don't
Right.
have to have a you don't as I like to say, you don't have to dumb it down because it's women. And personally, I found it insulting for that reason, and just for you could only be a women's world champion because they didn't make any other belts. They made no attempt to build up and make uh, women athlete be credible. So I'm
Right.
personally happy to see it where it is and it's going.
Yeah, and you see women now able to walk in and want to claim the opportunity to go for that title that has been held by so many other people, not just women or men, people in general. So like you said, it's great to see that the opportunities are becoming more open and available for everyone to go in there and do what they've been dreaming of doing and wanting to do and wanting to prove to the people that are watching. Yeah.
Definitely. So I'm going to translate over to how did you get into announcing?
Well, when I started, I wasn't sure what to do because at first it was, do I have to go in the ring and do all that work? Because while I enjoy watching the wrestlers do what they do, I know how hard of a job it is. Um, and I wasn't ready to jump in there and do what they do. to prepare in that way. When it comes to going to the gym, that I can definitely do. I have no problem doing that. But then um, you're now putting your life in someone else's hands. I wasn't ready to do that yet. So I was looking for other ways to be as involved that would still do justice to what the wrestlers are doing in the ring when they go in there day after day, making sure that they're mentally, physically, emotionally prepared for what they're going to do when they go into a match. And also honor the fact that they work hard to become who they are, you know. And I figured the best way to do that would be to be a commentator. But when I started to learn more about it, I was like, well, why stop there? Why not be a ring announcer and interview? Because I enjoy all of those things. Since all of those things to me are connected to each other and they also engage people, which I love doing. I love engaging with people. It's probably the most rewarding thing to be able to look a person in the eye and listen and learn about who they are, why they got to where they or how they got to where they got, and why they're on that journey. You know, it's an even interesting thing to think about when you start asking them questions as to, you know, how did you wind up becoming this version of yourself, and then learning that also helps to excuse me, also helps to inform how you commentate. It helps makes you informed on how you want to present them when they break curtain or break the entrance curtain. It helps you understand what kind of questions you want to ask them so that they can shine the way they're envisioning themselves, you know. So to me, all three were something I really wanted to do. I enjoyed doing because all three engage people in different aspects of them.
That's amazing. Um, with you understanding that part of the business, what was what's the thing that goes through your mind right before you step out the curtain to bring people out to do interviews? What's going through your mind?
Well, I try not to overthink it because I think that's one of the things that causes those nerves that people have. And I've come across some people that would say, "Oh man, I'm really nervous," and that's normal. Of course, it's normal. I'm not saying that to disparage anybody. It's normal to feel nervous, but I also try my very best not to overthink it. The first thing that comes to mind is usually, "All right, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna have a lot of fun. I'm gonna see if I can get the audience to." You know, play with me in terms of getting their energy up, and we're going to have a fantastic show. So if that means that I engage with music that's being playing that introduces the show, yeah, I do a little dance here and there just to get myself pumped up and ready to do what I'm going to do. But ultimately it's just focus on what I want to do, how I want to present myself, and how I want to represent the company that I am there to represent, but also make sure that that spotlight is ready and warm for the people that are coming behind me, the wrestlers, because essentially the the show's not about me. It's about the people coming in here to do battle in that ring, you know. So my job is to make sure that the fans not only are ready for it, but we're warming them up, we're engaging them so that they're ready to engage with the wrestlers when they come out.
Well, and I definitely understand your response there, but I would argue you are a part of the show because you bring the energy. And if you're flat, then the crowd's gonna look at the wrestlers flat. So
You're right.
that's why I definitely disagree with you there.
Well,
Plus,
the thing is that I say it like that because it's a line that you're walking on when you start thinking that the spotlight is yours, you know. You have to understand that you do have to share that with, let's say, with a partner. You have to make sure that you step to the side to make sure that the people that are going to do that battle are there. So for example, when I'm in the ring, I do step into the middle of it, do the introduction, but I know enough to make sure to step back because a lot of that space you need to have it ready for that wrestler to do what they're going to do to shine. And if you don't have that mindset to understand that you are sharing this big area with people who they came to see, then um you kind of lose the plot there. You know what I mean? So no, I absolutely agree with you. I am part of the show, definitely. But I also know when to gracefully step to the side and make sure that the show continues. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes. No, I definitely understand. Um, one thing that I, as a wrestling fan for how long I've been watching it, the one thing I always look at and think about is the announcer, the commentary team, the valets, the manager. I love when I can see all of them work together so that the wrestlers can have that shindo, that
Yes.
great moment, because
Yes.
there's so much that you help set up, that
Yes.
the announcers help set up. And some people don't follow wrestling for the storyline, it's the wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
But with all that being said, there's so much build and things. And if you could be the greatest announcer in the world, but then you have wrestlers following their dud, then it takes away from,
Right.
like you said, the entire show. So
Right, right. Yeah, and that's exactly what that's exactly my mindset on that is the person who is in there commentating, ring announcing, the valets, the mat, you're building towards something great when that wrestler finally comes out. You want to make sure that whatever you did also feeds into that excitement that not only they're feeling, but they're trying to exude to the fans that are out there. They want them to feel too. So if that means that a wrestler comes to me and says, "This is what I want your announcement to sound like," I tell them, "Right on, let's do this." And I will take what pacing they're interested in, what sound they're looking for. If they want me to be creative, I try to do something that is unique, that's interesting for them. Even if it's in a different language, I do that as well. For commentary, same thing, because sometimes we don't get a lot of information from them because they're thinking about what strategies they're going to use. So my strategy usually is to one, I should know something about that wrestler, and if I don't, research that person so I can kind of get a feel of who they are, what they're going for, and then when I'm on commentary, be as creative as possible and bounce off of my partner, whoever that may be, because it's not always the same person, but always have that conversation with them during commentary to make something happen, to make that story come alive while the story's being told physically. And the same goes for the interviews. You can't stand there and just hold the mic. You actually are having a conversation with that person. It's not just you looking cute and having questions. It's you engaging honestly with that person and finding out who they are, what they're wanting, what they're aiming for, things like that, because that drives the vision that not only the company has for itself, but also what the wrestler wants the fan to consume. So yeah, it's a very important role on all three sides, but even for the manager, I know for a fact I love watching Nastico work because he knows exactly what he needs to do in order for him to make his client look like a superstar, be a superstar, and that's his job, is for his client to be that superstar. But he knows what he has to put into it in order for that to happen. You know what I mean?
yeah, definitely. And I think that's why I was so excited about having you on, because I don't think a lot of people understand the nuance of being an announcer and being doing interviews. They just think, well, I can do that. I can,
Yeah.
hey, and it's much more detailed. And I
Yes.
love, and the way you're explaining it, it's so easy to understand. And hopefully from this interview they will appreciate, the next time they see an announcer, they will be like, oh man, I didn't notice that until after I heard the interview. Oh,
Yeah.
she helped me see.
Yeah, like you pay attention to the little nuances that announcers do. I mean, and I mean all of them. I don't just mean the ones that are always on the spotlight, always on the Instagram. All of them, from The very beginning to now, they always put a little of themselves into it, or they splash a little more sauce, a little more spice, a little more color into how they do what they do, and it makes them unique. The voice inflections. I love listening to Mexican ring announcers. I mean, the way that they play with their sound, fantastic. It really makes you excited for who's about to come in that ring, and you get sucked in, and that's the goal for me, is to get sucked into what's going on, because now I'm genuinely engaging in what's happening in front of me, beside me, around me. I'm involved in it. I'm not just standing there, you know, in it. You know what I mean?
Right. So, how long does it take for you to prepare to get ready for to do announcing?
It depends, because at some point you wind up accumulating so much information that it doesn't take long for you to do it. When I first started, it take about a week, because I would actually message everyone that would be on the show to find out what exactly they're looking for, what they're wanting to sound like, what they want, how they want to be portrayed. Uh, I would go up to them the day of even and spend a couple hours discussing with them. What is it that they're looking for? Who are they? I look things up myself. So generally, it would take me about a week, because I do a lot of the research beforehand, so I can walk in the door, and all really I'd have to do is just check in to make sure there hasn't been any changes since the last time I spoke to them, and then just make sure that I'm ready to go. As far as the ring announcing goes, I keep a database, so that way, for the most part, if I've seen them several times and I know about them, I just have to, you know, just make sure everything's down correctly, and just double check with them. Do you have any thing that I need to know, that I need to add to this? Same with the commentary. I actually follow a lot of the wrestlers, and watch a lot of their shows, and go to a lot of these shows. So I follow along with what's happening to them, with them, what's going on, what stories are being told about them, what's being said in advertisements, and how are they portraying themselves when they're engaging with their opponents through the social media. So I watch a lot of what's going on, not just at the shows, but behind the scenes, to see what exactly is happening. It's like reading the newspaper. I generally take a look at what's happening in the current event of wrestling, and go from there. But generally, it would take about a week, and then the day of, I check in.
So, got a question. Do you prefer commentary or ring announcing more?
Uh, I like them both. It's hard for me to say I like this one more than that one, because they both, they're different sides of engagement, I like the commentary because I love having the chance to sit with someone, or even by myself, enjoy the show, but also discuss what's happening, talk about where that person's been, where I've seen them and what they've accomplished, what they're doing, what's happening to them, speculating, because now we're jumping in with the fans and speculating along with them. What do you think will happen on the next show that we see them on, the next iteration of this? Ring announcing I enjoy, because now I get to get up close and personal with the wrestler and ask them, what would you like to hear? What would make you the most excited? And that makes me excited when they're happy to hear that somebody is really interested in what they want, I had a wrestler come to me one time nervous, asking for changes to how they want to be announced. And I told him, no, 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 that's okay. Let's see where we can fit this, and we'll put it together. And when they realize that I genuinely do want to do it the way they're envisioning, they get really excited. And I like that about that part of the job. The same with interviews. They get excited when people really want to know more about them, not just ask questions just to fulfill the task.
Right. And see, the thing that stuck out to me is you said you have a database, which in turn shows how well that you take this seriously and you want to master your craft. And that is so wonderful to hear.
Well, it's always good to be prepared, because if you're not, then you're scrambling, and now you're nervous. And that's what I said earlier, is it's normal to be nervous, but if you're prepared for what you're about to do, then there's no reason to be as nervous as much as now you're excited for what you're about to do. I saw a question, what was my favorite show to announce for? There have been a lot of them that I've done that I've really loved, and some really close to my heart too. But I have to say that I really enjoyed, because it was unique. I really enjoyed um, Black Fairy Magic that Uncanny did. They allowed me to announce for that one, and it was just such a different take on what you would envision a wrestling show to be, because they took everyone for a ride into the medieval ages, into the land of fairies. It was great, but the most memorable match I've announced for was the one that essentially became a D&D, a Dungeons and Dragons type match, complete with Dungeon Master and dice. I mean, that was so much fun that to this day I still talk about it.
Oh wow, that is amazing. So I'm gonna tell you one of my favorite pictures I've seen you with. And if
Okay.
my producer will bring it up right now, this is my favorite picture right there.
Yeah, I love that picture. Like I said, I get a kick when I see gentlemen dressed so fantastically. There was a guy that was close to my family. His name was we called him Mr. Stanley. And when I first moved to Texas, he was one of the first people that I've met. But what struck me about him was this was a gentleman that whenever you see him, he is dressed really well. His shirt's always pressed, his jeans are always pressed, and he had a hat for every day of the week. Every day he had a different hat that matched the outfit. And then there was the accent. I mean, I'm a Jersey girl, so uh, anybody that does not sound like they're from New Jersey, that's an accent to me, you know? But he had that deep Southern Texas accent that I was just like, wow, the complete outfit, all of it. I get a kick out of it. So when I saw your producer, I was like, yes, fantastic. And I even asked him, do you ring announce like this? He said, yeah. I'm like, love it. I love it.
And
Yes.
so I'm gonna tell you the story behind the picture. So I he sent the picture out and he's like, man, look, I was like, oh man, I know her. I see her a lot. And he said, yeah, she wanted to take a picture with me. And he was super excited. And I'm like, what? And I think it was for both of us. One, that we seen you do so many different things. Two, I can definitely say for him, he was like, oh my God, it's somebody famous and she actually wants to take a picture with me.
I don't know
And
about famous or anything, but I pride myself in being approachable. I don't like people feeling like they can't come and ask me questions or ask me for a picture, because I enjoy that stuff. Those are the kinds of things that I enjoy, because that's more engagement with people. But there are times when I see people that are so unique that I'm like, I have to get a picture of this. I have to.
uh,
And he
uh,
was one of those people.
well, and I think for us that we're wrestling fans first. So when we meet wrestlers or just people that are in the business, and we like, holy crap, we're actually meeting them. We're getting to take a picture. We're trying our best not to mark out, but we're
Oh,
marking out.
and that's okay too. But I'm flattered. I greatly appreciate that you had such feelings for me just taking a picture. Because that really does that for me. That matters. That means that I've touched someone, that I made somebody feel good, and that that person has more enjoyment for being there and would even come back and say hello, and engage. Just that's the goal, is to keep people engaged, whether they're watching the show, talking to wrestlers, talking to me, talking to anything. Keep them interested and engaged, and they feel so warm and comfortable that they want to come back. Make the vibe speak to them.
Yeah, and I think I'm trying to get used to it because the first time I had a fan come up and knew me, I'm just standing there like, what?
Yeah, I had that moment too. It was at a wrestling show, and I wasn't doing anything with wrestling other than doing the podcast and the commentary with my husband and my friend. And we were at a show, and I was walking past, I guess to go get water or something, and somebody goes, "Oh my God, it's Doctor the Wife!" And I turn around, and I'm like, "What? Me?" And they're like, "Yes." And I turn around and I find the fan, and I'm like, "Oh, that's so awesome." And this is a shout out to Bo because he was the one that called me out, and I was so like I was blushing at the time too, that he recognized who I was. And so, and we had done a lot of things for the podcast. It wasn't just us sitting around talking about wrestling. We did little antics and fun things with each other. We had like challenges. There was one that we did on camera, which was where we I forgot what the stipulation was, but we slapped flour on each other's faces, and we took pictures of that, and we allowed somebody from the production of that show to execute that, because we had lost. It was like a bet, but we lost it, and then it was a game that we were playing. But it's just stuff like that to keep the fun alive, the fun going.
Oh, so we have someone asking if you wouldn't mind to do an announcement and introduce Professor Burr.
Okay. All right. Well, let me grab your information real quick. We'll say, where do you want to be from?
Knoxville, Tennessee.
All right. We'll do Knoxville, Tennessee. And then, do you want to share your height or your weight?
Oh yeah, I'm 6'4", 300.
All right. Do you have any nicknames besides Professor Bear?
Um, well, Professor Burr just worked.
All right. We'll do it. Let's see I'm just writing it down. All right. And then just Professor Bear.
Yes.
All right. So here we go. Ready?
All right.
I'm going to use my pen. I don't know if you can see my little chomper chomp pen. So
Yes.
here we go. Making his way to the ring from Knoxville, Tennessee, coming in at 300 pounds at 6'4". He is the host of A Bear's Thoughts, Professor Bear.
That is super awesome. Oh, thank you for that. That blew my mind because recently I just got an award, got put into a Hall of Fame,
Oh, that's
and
awesome. Congratulations.
thank you. And just hearing the announcer and stuff, I'm like, and in my head, I'm like, this still ain't real. This ain't real.
But it feels good, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It's an amazing feeling. And like you said, just that people connect with me, and I love when I'm out somewhere watching wrestling and stuff, and people would talk and come up to me, and I always try to make sure that I am friendly to
Yeah.
them and thank them because
Yes.
without them, I wouldn't be Professor Burr.
Absolutely. And that's one of the important things that I've said to many people is show your appreciation for the people that have come out there, put themselves out there to give you what they have, their creativity, their honesty, their love, because without the people supporting you, then, that's it. But also we also have to make sure that we give ourselves a hand because it's a lot to put yourself out there and want to show of yourself. You're being vulnerable in front of people by experimenting with who you are and that other side of yourself outside of who you would be, you know, at a shoot job.
Definitely, definitely. I wouldn't be doing this right now if it wasn't for my wife.
Yeah.
She was the one that told. Quick story. Um, Producer put out a thing looking for a co-host to do a podcast. Well, I saw and I'm like, yeah, I could do that. And then I'm like, eh. So I left my computer room, went and sat with my wife, and told her. She's like, You ain't sent your stuff in. Why you still sitting here? I'm like, nobody's gonna want to hear me talk about wrestling. And she's like, you would debate with God. I sat there for a few minutes and thought to myself, yeah, I would. I would try to do it the most polite way to debate with God, but yes, I would. And I went back, did it, and now here we are. So
But it's fun because even you're in the business because you're engaging in a conversation that a lot of people are having, and you're giving your opinions, your thoughts, the facts you've collected, and you're sharing with the world how you feel about it, and that makes you part of it just as much as it makes me part of it. Not
yes,
not a lot of people would admit that, but it's the truth because as soon as you start picking up a mic and discussing, analyzing, researching, you have become part of something bigger as well.
exactly. And I love that because I'm able to give back to something I've loved since I was a little boy,
Right.
and I'm hopefully helping keep a certain part of the business alive, and maybe a small boy or girl will see it and say they could do it, and just
Right.
keep the business growing.
But not just a small child. I mean, even an adult, you're resonating with other people who may potentially sit back and think to themselves, I don't think I'll be able to do that. But now that they see you do it and you're being successful at it, now they feel, you know what, I can do that. And I'm going to do that because I want to be involved too.
Yes, yes, very
Mhm.
true. And I love how you turned it around and now you're interviewing me instead of me interviewing you. Uh, but another question that I really want to ask is what, and you've said it, but what would be your advice for anyone looking to wanting to do announcing? What would you recommend for them to do?
Find somebody that is willing to help for sure, because there are some nuances that need to be known and that you need to understand and talk you through the best practices that would help that person be successful, because a lot of people, they've done a lot of trial and error hoping to find that thing that works for them, and it's different for everybody. There's not a one device, there's not a one method, and there's not a one person that can show you all that there is. It's just a matter of being very observant, um, making sure you're okay with the idea that you're going to do some of the legwork yourself, with regards to finding out the information, but also find somebody who's willing to practice with you and work with you, mentor you. Not a lot of people are out there that do it. Some are, but of course, you find that a lot of people become very busy and they, kind of focus in on themselves and they move forward. But there are people out there, not just that dedicate themselves to ring announcing, but also some wrestlers that are interested in giving some advice as well. Talk to them too. There's some great people in Dallas that do a great job in being that kind of a person that is willing to share that information. I've actually spoken to one, over at Dragon Slayer. I mean, he's fantastic at what he does. He's over at MPX now, and truly interested in educating. Which is something I love to do, is educating as well. So find people that are willing to be part of your tribe and work with you and mentor you and talk you through it and show you the ropes. And then try it. See if there's somebody out there that's willing to take a chance on you. There's a there's people out there that are willing to try you out. Is it a struggle? Yeah, there's some struggle at the beginning of it, but eventually it does work itself out as people start get to know you better and want to work with you. Because to me, it is about personality as much as it is about talent. You have to have a presence. There has to be, for ring announcing, some type of elegance. It's not just about coming in a well pressed suit and a long dress. It's having that presence of being able to engage, and that to me is the most important part, because it is a vibe that you're exuding to the fans and you want to draw them in, and that's something that you can kind of learn but by observing and being in the presence of, but you also have to have that within yourself and know how to bring that out as well.
Def. Something else that I think and this is what any part of this is any part of life, honestly, is to be able to take criticism,
Yeah.
not to take it personal, but to listen to someone tell you what they think and learn to apply it, learn to step back, just be willing to listen. Because I think a lot of people, when you try to help them and tell them something that you see as a flaw, they take it personally.
Yeah, and they take it as an attack. And it's interesting because the wrestlers go through this a lot because they have to. They're when they start learning how to wrestle, they get a lot of criticism and they have to learn how to take that and work with that and understand that it's not being met as a shot in, to the gut. It's meant for you to learn from, because you do learn from a failure. You learn from your mistakes, and then you learn from lots of different things. What I've noticed is not everyone is able or ready or willing sometimes to give criticism on how you ring announce. I'm not saying that's for everybody, because there are people out there that do give that information that does help, which, I always greatly appreciate when somebody shares with me their thoughts on what I could do to be better, do better, sound better. Uh, and but again, that comes with the good and the necessary. The good being you're getting praise for what you do, which also helps because you now know what you're doing well, and that what is resonating with other people, which is also a criticism that is helpful as well. And then the criticism that helps you grow, that's something that is also necessary. You do get a lot of that when you're doing commentating, because there is a process, there is a depth of knowledge that you should have in order for you to be able to do that. And the same goes for interviews. There's a way to do it. There's a formula that you should do it in order for you to be successful, so that you're not asking the same questions. Because that's another thing is people get nervous and tend to ask, how do you feel about such and such doing this to you? You can't ask how you feel every time you meet a wrestler. You have to find different ways to start that conversation. And sometimes it's not always going to be a question. Sometimes it's an open-ended statement to allow them to elaborate on. So you have to know how to do that in order for you to be successful. And sometimes it's not even you interviewing anybody as much as you are promoting something, you are pushing something, you are encouraging fans to do something, a call to action. It could just be come to the show. How are you going to present that, So there's a lot of different ways to do it. There's a lot of criticisms that can help get better at it. I just found that sometimes you don't always get criticism for all the aspects of it, because it could be that there isn't any. There could be that that person may not have um, the not the knowledge or the understanding, but they're not ring announcers, so they don't know what to criticize. Um, you know what I mean? It's a matter of what is the experience of that person, and are they willing to share that information in order for another person to grow. But it's also a bit of discernment that you do have to have. Not all criticism is helpful. Sometimes you have to take it with the grain of salt and make sure that you understand what they're saying, but you also keep doing your own research to learn what it is you can do to continue to evolve. Because if you stay stagnant, of course you're it's going to get boring.
Definitely, definitely. So, how many different promotions have you worked for?
Oh man, I have to list them. There's a bunch. I'm not saying that there's like 30 pages of them or anything, but there's been a bunch all over Texas. Really, I haven't been too far south yet. So hopefully one day I'll get to go down there and explore and enjoy and do this. Further down into the one end of Texas. But I've worked in towns like Odessa, Houston. I've done several shows there. I do Spanish ring announcing for Phoenix Lucha Libre or Phoenix Entertainment. I've worked in the Dallas area. I've worked in the San Antonio area, in Austin, and there's been different promotions in each one that I've worked in. And just I'm just looking to continue to do more and learn more and see more, because that's the only way you get better, is to continue practicing, continue testing it out, continue enjoying the wrestling landscape. But it's been more than a couple handfuls, honestly.
So, with that being said, what is your goal for the next 5 years?
To continue growing. That's one of the biggest goals for me is to continue growing and find places that are willing to invest in me and try me out and see if I can be an asset to their company. Um, because I do more than just ring announcing, commentary, and interviews. There's a bunch of other things that I can do outside of that I've done that is an asset to any company that is willing to try me out and engage with me, because I'm always a learner. I'm always learning. I'm always interested in a challenge, and I'm always interested in helping. I love getting my hands dirty, especially when if it's a new project, if it's an established project. I'm always willing to jump in there and build with anybody who's interested in building. So I don't consider any promotion, big, small, or otherwise, in any way other than this is something that somebody has invested their time, love, passion, and I have to be understanding and equally as engaged in order for them to follow through and make their mission and their vision happen. And that's one of the important parts for me, is that I contribute to that. I don't hinder that, and people understand that that is my goal, is to contribute to the wrestling landscape and continue helping it evolve as I put in what I can do in order for that to happen. So in 5 years, just continue growing. That's the best that I can hope for myself, is that I never stop learning, is that I'm always interested in knowing more, seeing more, experiencing more. And then if that means that a contract happens in one of the big rings, then I'll sign it and we'll go from there. But right now, having fun, I'm enjoying it. I'm traveling. I'm seeing shows abroad as well, and learning and bringing that back and putting it into the promotions that are taking a chance on me.
I love hearing that. Let me start with this. I'm very honored that you're willing to do the show. Um, the work I've seen you do has been tremendous. I'm so proud to be able to give you your flowers now, because you definitely deserve them. And I want you to keep growing, keep doing the things, and enjoy, like you said, and keep bringing in fans, because I I know personally that there are people that have started watching and seeing because of you, and
Oh,
I
thank
want to
you.
thank you.
Thank you so much. That really does, that touches me so much. That feels really good to hear, because it it makes it makes it so much worth it, so worthwhile to know that people are in love with this as much as I am, because I made it as accessible to them as I tried to make it to for myself.
That is great. Well, again, thank you so much for blessing me and my audience for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this conversation with you, and hopefully we can have it again.
Yes, you have an open invitation anytime we can do this again.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. Guys, girls, thank you for taking the time to listen to this great interview, and to understand that wrestling is more than the wrestlers.
Yep.
It's the commentary, it's the announcers,
I
it's
could just safely say it's wrestling and its production team, because without the production team, every one of those people, count the ring crew as well. Without those people, what would we have? They're important too.
exactly, and that's why any chance I get, I always try to show love, give them their flowers, because I know without them, I would probably be sitting here mad at the world. So, guys, girls, thank you again for joining us, and we're gonna do it again very soon. So,
I can't wait.
yes, yes. for my guest, Dr. The Wife, and me, Professor Bird. Thank you for joining us for Bird's Talk. We'll catch you on the next go around to the forest.